Three, two, one. Roll the footage. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Simon Severino, and today our guest, she helps businesses scale and grow by implementing efficient business infrastructure, processes, and systems. And we love systems here. We will dive deep here into why you need to write down your processes, how to systemize, and how to delegate. Welcome, everybody. Adi Klevit.
Thank you, Simon. This is the best entrance, the best welcome to a podcast I've ever had with the clapping and everything amazing.
Everybody is excited here. And I'm excited and I'm curious. What are you currently creating?
I am creating several playbooks and training manuals and processes and procedures for mm, a variety of businesses. So it's always a create here. We love creating those manuals. We basically like when others shy away from writing processes or documenting them or implementing them, we jump right in and love creating those.
Oh, and what do you see happening if people don't write down their processes?
Well, I mean, I probably could turn around and ask you that question because you see that a lot as well, right? And probably our listeners, it's a good question to ask them. Well, what happens when you don't have your processes? So it can be that, new employee, it takes forever to train new employees. It basically makes the business owner or the leadership team have to step down and actually do a one-to-one, like basically train one-on-one. It is definitely affecting the morale, in terms of the employees, in terms of if you don't have systems, if you don't have good training, you just throw them in there to just figure it out, so it affects retention in that way. Consistency is a word that I hear a lot. Like when I ask business owners, why do you want to document your processes and procedures? Well, because, we grew so much and everyone has their own way of doing things and there is not a consistent way of doing it. And we want consistency. So why do you want consistency? Well, so we can have better customer service, so we can have risk mitigation, so we can have continuity in the business. So if somebody leaves, somebody can jump in and basically be cross-trained and do what they're doing. So it basically allows the business to be alive if you have those systems working.
This is a real practitioner talking here. Everybody, listen to what she says because this is so true. Every single one of these mistakes I did, I lost people after a couple months and then asked them, why are you leaving? And they say, Simon, it's not ready. The processes are not bulletproof. I need to write the processes here. I expect processes to be ready when I come. And I was like, oh, all right. They are right. They are right. There is no cutting corner. We will lose the very good people if we don't write it down, right?
That's an
So,
interesting point, Simon, because I want to say on that is that, a business, it can be in different stages in terms of having processes, right? And, when you're an entrepreneur, a smaller company, it's impossible for you to just write the processes yourself, right? Because, okay, so what are you going to do now? People leave and then you're going to sit down and write your processes. So it's really also having the correct people with the right mindset at different stages of the business. Because I'm 100% with you. If you're more of an established business and the business is growing, definitely, you have to provide those systems to the people. But if you are as if it's a startup or if you are up to a certain point, you also want to surround yourself with people that can help you write those processes.
let's talk about this. So,
Yeah.
solopreneurs listening right now in small teams and say, but who should write down these processes? We don't have time. We focus on our clients. When should we write processes? So how can they do it?
Well, they can start right away because it doesn't have to be this, corporate type of processes. You have a process, right? I mean, anything that you do, you wake up in the morning, you have a process. I'm sure a lot of us, when we make our tea or we make our coffee in the morning, we do it the same way almost every day, right? Maybe on the weekend is different for some reason, or you go to a coffee shop, but I don't think each one of us create a different way 360 days, 365 ways of here we go, you're sipping on your tea, 365 ways to make the tea, right? I mean, it is pretty much the same, and we know that if we actually figure out how we do it, it will be faster because we don't have to think about it. So to your point, if we have solopreneurs that are asking, where am I going to document my processes? Just video yourself, just use Loom, use Zoom, use Screencastify, whatever you want to, whatever software you have. When you're doing something, record yourself. I mean, that's how I got started in my own business. Let's say I sign up a client, and at that time, I'm talking when I did not have an assistant, I did not have a salesperson. I would basically, with the idea that I will get one, I would basically record myself signing up and onboarding a new client. So here's what I do. This is how I uploaded. Here's how I write the contract. Here's how I upload it to DocuSign. Here is how I send it to the client. This is what the email template that I use. This is how I follow up when they sign up. This is how I invoice. This is how I set them up. I have my system. I created my own system of setting them up. They get this label, they get this folder, they do this, they do that. We tag them in Pipedrive, we in our CRM, we different things that we do, right? But I go like, why am I doing it? Who am I going to pass it to? When am I going to have time? No, I'm just going to record it, and I save those recordings and I put it in. I had, just like I use it with my clients, I use a platform to document the processes and procedures. So I basically put it in there with the name of the step. So this is the step, will be sign up a new client. Boom, here's the video. So then when I got my first executive assistant, I basically said, okay, watch the video and write the steps. Now, was it perfect that way it was written? No, she's not a professional writer, and it wasn't perfect, but it was something. So I didn't have to repeat myself. And then as we progressed, then I made it more professional, and now we have really good processes, documented processes. But as I discover new processes, because that's another thing, it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be evolving processes, unless you're a business that is really like, you're a manufacturer, that's the way you manufacture things. But even they innovate, right? Each business should innovate to a degree. So the processes are going to change to a lesser or greater degree. When they do, I always tell my the operations manager or my assistant to basically go and write a process. Okay, here's how we do it. So change the process, write a process. So we always keep it alive. But the point is that you don't have to allocate time to sit down. Now I'm going to sit down for 5 hours and do it. No, just record yourself as you're doing things and keep it in a place where you know where it is kept. And that is a great solution to getting started.
What do you say to people that say, yeah, but no, I'm not a process guy. We are creative people. That would kill our creativity.
Oh my gosh, never heard it. No, just kidding. You should actually go onto my podcast, which is the Systems Simplified podcast. And I interview several creative people and that are super successful are super successful at scaling their business. Top of mind is my interview that I did with Ryan Buchanan, who he is the founder of Thesis, and he actually now has an operation person that basically run. He totally applies that. You need to have processes and systems in order for you to actually be able to step out as the visionary. And what I say is, yes, listen to those people that are the experts. Listen to you, Simon. You are super creative, deal with marketing, help people with all aspects of the business, and you know how important systems are. So my advice would be, listen to people that are successful, that have done that are also creative, and see what kind of systems do they have. Let's look at Steve Jobs. Do you consider him creative? I do.
Definitely.
Do you think Apples have systems?
Yeah.
I think they do, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like you look at it and you go, okay, can you ask yourself the question, can you grow without systems? The answer is no. Whatever the answer is for you, I'm talking to the listeners, right? And in terms of ruining the creativity, I can just say, again, listen to those that are successful, but it will actually enhance the creativity, not hinder it. Why? Because there are certain things that you're doing that are being done over and over and over and over and over, and those need the systems. But then you put on top of it your creativity, so you have more time to create. I just remember I did a great podcast with Mimi Banks. She's she used to run the social media for L'Oreal, and she has now her own company, and she deals with a lot. She does social media. And she talked about it, like how you basically identify the things that are repetitive. Like even if you are creative and creating ads or creating different things you're posting on social media, the marketing, etc., there are still certain actions that you need to do and your team has to do. So if you want to delegate, you definitely need those systems. So they basically very complement each other. They are not against creativity. It's not just boring things. And that's one thing that I really try to get across, is that it's not boring to write systems. I know people that go like, what? I go like, no, it's not boring to create systems and write processes and procedures. It can actually be, can I say the word fun? I think it can be fun. I mean, because what you're doing is you're putting order in, and every time you put order in, you feel better. It's kind of like if you have your desk is cluttered with things, and then you somehow manage yourself to get yourself and you actually clean up your desk, and then now you feel like you have more room to create, right, or to do things, because you're not like, your attention is not constantly, oh, now I have to clean this, now I have to do this, now I have to organize this. No, now you can go more into a creative mode.
Totally. We create around 600 episodes per year. We doubled it to 1,200 episodes per year. Everybody in our team has checklists. Without checklist, you couldn't ship it, right? With checklist, we don't think about it. It's okay, I did this task, now it's that, now it's that, now it's that. And we can concentrate really on what's fun and on being creative, because the rest is just kind of automated, semi-automated.
Right. And creating those checklists, it's a creativity by itself. It really is, because it takes thinking, it takes figuring out what works, it takes streamlining, it takes really creating this piece that is, people can look at it and go, oh wow, this is great, I totally understand. So there is that, just like when you're creating a podcast, so you're creating, let's say, an animated video, or you're creating you're a graphic designer, you're creating a beautiful piece. What you want to do when you do that, you want to make sure that people look at it and they understand your concept and understand what you're trying to communicate. Well, the same thing with a well-written process is, people can understand what you are trying to communicate, and that increase, basically, instead of making it like a barrier, it basically increase how you can actually do things.
I want to hear your top three books after one word from our sponsors.
Hey, if you like the tools, go grab them for free at strategysprints.com/tools.
I
Yeah, and
love.
I would like to also say something about that sponsor.
Oh
You
yeah.
should go to Strategy Sprints, and you're gonna find so many tools, and definitely subscribe to their newsletter, because I get those videos, and Simon, those videos are amazing. You give such good information, and your tips are amazing, and they always come at the right time, which is amazing. Like, oh, I'm thinking, how am I gonna do that? Boom, I get this tip, and then I go like, yeah, this is the way I can do it. So thank you for those.
Super cool. And so you inspire entrepreneurs across the globe to write down their systems so that they can scale their business. Where do you take your inspiration from? What are three books that inspire you?
I get inspired by many books. So I'm going to just name, I mean, it was, you asked me that question before, you sent me that question, like, oh, how can I choose three books, right? It's really hard. So I'm going to mention some. So E-Myth is definitely a great inspirational book for anyone who wants to basically systematize their business. And the concept there of creating a turnkey business is amazing. And that's what my team and I strive to create for businesses, is that turnkey operation of like, okay, let's systematize, let's document, so then you can take it and you can grow and you can scale from there. So I love that book, right? Another one that I really like, that I just recently read, and I actually interviewed the author on my podcast, is They Ask You Answer by, They Ask You Answer. It's a great, great book. Love it. And I would definitely recommend that book, because it deals with communication, and it deals with answering people's questions and basically dominating the market by answering questions and not shying away from it, right? And the author does a fantastic job of explaining it in the book, and it's real because he experienced that, right? So he experienced that. He came to the conclusion after he had some difficulties in the business and how he built his own business, and now he has his marketing company. But I definitely recommend listening to this book and applying it because it's all about communication and volume of communication and answering the right questions. So that's a book that I really like, that I recently read. And I also, the 10X book by Grant Cardone, really like that book because of the thinking big, right? It's like, how do you 10X everything that you're doing? So if you're thinking about, okay, so if you have 600 episodes, let's think about how you can do 6,000 episodes, right? And there is a lot of information there that is definitely applicable to all aspects of life. So I definitely like that book as well. And there are many books. I'm looking at my bookshelves right now, but I think you want to three, those are three.
Perfect. And I've been just checking. They ask you answer. Is it Marcus Sheridan?
Yeah, it's Marcus. Definitely. I interviewed Marcus on my podcast, and he's such a great guy, and he's such a wealth of information. And, um, he thinks outside the box, right? It's a different type of thinking. It's not your, okay, we're just going to put this thing on the website. No, he's just like, the information that he tells you to put out there is absolutely incredible. So definitely recommend. I mean, the advice that he gives if you're an outside of the box thinker, and if you want to really take the marketing to a next level, I recommend that book.
I just bought it on Audible. And
Awesome.
I always need something to listen when I run. And
Me
so,
too.
yeah, I love it. And I'm curious. You can pick one person when everybody's zigging, they are zagging. But from your perspective, they are doing the right thing. Who do you pick?
I'd like to actually talk about my good friend Alice Tang, and it's askalicetang.com. That's her website. And the reason why I thought about her is because she has a unique story. I mean, she's a financial advisor and she's an immigrant. She came here 20 something, here meaning the US, 25 years ago. And she has her own way of doing things. If maybe everybody's like that, but she has her path, and she created her system of networking, and it's her way of doing things. And she's such a giving person, and she likes to talk about how she does things and how that system works and how it worked for her. And she broke it down. She created the system, so she broke it down to step by step how to do it. I also interviewed her. She's been on many podcasts. She's a great speaker, and I really wanted to choose her because it's definitely, she does it her own way, and she's super successful at doing it, and I admire her for doing that. And even if there are different things in life where maybe other people will give up or think it's hard or will have like a really bad attitude, she maintains her attitude and her positive attitude, her optimism, and her always looking ahead and looking into the future is very admirable. So wanted to give a big shout out to her.
Super cool. And you are also somebody who finds everywhere opportunities, stands up again, helps the next client scale. How do you do it? How do you organize and stay on track and keep rolling?
Well, I have my systems, but thank you first of all, Simon, coming from you because you are the same. So that's really a great compliment. And I have my systems. But really what drives me, it's always your why, right? Is the intention, is like what motivates you. And what really motivates me, my gift is putting order into things. I found out, I've been doing this line of work for over 25 years. My background is industrial. I'm an industrial engineer. I picked that particular profession because it was a combination of science and basically understanding what makes people tick and how they work, and understanding the human mind, and understanding how to work with people. So it was a people and science combination, which I love. And throughout my career, I found I definitely expanded on that and found more and more about that. And I love people. I love helping people. And I love putting order into things. So that's what motivates me. It motivates me, the success stories, motivates me the difference that I create in businesses, so then they can just run and grow and scale, and basically removing the barriers that they have. So that's my motivation. That's my why. and then everything else follows into place. If I then take this one and I'm motivated to to help more people, then the systems that I have help me achieve that.
You run a podcast, Systems Simplified podcast. And how did starting a podcast change you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So first of all, here I always like to acknowledge the people that helped me, because it's not me by myself, right? And this is really Jeremy Wise and John Corcoran. I mean, from Rise 25, they are they definitely encouraged me to start a podcast. And and I was a guest, just like here. I'm a guest on many podcasts. I love being a guest. I like talking about systems and processes. And it was actually during the pandemic. It was April 2020. I was taking a walk, because, in order to keep sane and not just being surrounded and just in home, we could go out for a walk. And I was walking around my home and I was thinking, it will be great to actually start my own podcast, because it will allow me to meet great people. It will allow me to give a platform to people to talk about them, because believe it or not, I love talking about systems and processes and what we do, but I even enjoy more interviewing, being on the other side of the microphone, because I get to hear all these amazing stories that people have, and it doesn't stop to amaze me how amazing people are. What they create, what they are able to do, and I love people sharing their stories. So as I was taking that walk, I go like, you know what, I can do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And then I talked to Jeremy again from Rise 25, and he made it so easy, because they basically interviewed me, asked me who is my. I mean, we did a blueprint of who is my ideal guest. Who do I want to interview? What should be the main topic of the podcast, etc. And then all I need to do is just interview people and schedule. And it was naturally, I got so many. I mean, I am like now have like 3 months, I record 3 months in advance, because I have so many episodes, right? Because it's fun. And I think podcasts allow me to reach out to people that before I did not know, because I always, because people introduce me to other people. It really solidified the fact that my business is an online business, meaning like I can consult anyone, and I have clients all over the world. I mean, obviously the majority in the US, but all over the US, and also Australia, UK. I even have, I consulted somebody in Vietnam. So it is all over. It's a global, basically, it became a global business, and the barriers of a location just fell apart, because I talk to people all over.
Systemizing is very linked also to delegating. We cannot properly delegate probably if we don't have created the system. People listening right now, they struggle like everybody, like me, like everybody. We struggle with delegation. How to do delegation right?
I would first of all want to let's name what is it hard in delegation, so I can tell you about myself and you can chime in and say what's for you. But it is really the idea that, well, it will take me 5 minutes to explain to someone, but it will take me 30 seconds to do it myself, right? I mean, do you ever run into that?
Exactly.
Good. So how many 30 seconds, if we have 100 of those a day, that's 300 seconds. Anyway, you get I mean, it's, I'm trying to make it, it's very, being facetious about it, but it's true. I mean, if you take the only 5 minutes, it will never, you will run out of 5 minutes in a day. And you will also never be able to move on and really create more on the business, let's say, because you're going to do all these tasks. So it's self-discipline, really. That's what I think. It's kind of like when you ask, like, how do you work out? Okay, you run, I love to exercise, but how do you do that? You have to have self-discipline, right? Because you have to, it's very easy to go, oh, well, I'm just going to not sleep another half an hour, then go on my bike, right? Get on my bike. Well, what will get me to get on my bike is self-discipline of like, yeah, the alarm goes off. Okay, good. Wake, get up, do whatever you're doing, just like, start your day, go exercise, it's just like self-discipline. The same thing with delegation. You have to decide for yourself what that you are going to delegate. But first of all, have a goal in mind on why to delegate. Because one of the things that I find is that, and it happened to me many times throughout my career, is that you get comfortable in something that you are doing. You know how to do it very well. it's not a problem. But then, oh wow, if now I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to be important. What's going to be my next step? What am I going to do, right? So that's where you have to have your mindset, and that's why I like the 10x book, is because you have to think in the future, like what do you want to do? Well, okay, so you want to now scale your business. Let's say you're at 1 million, you want to get to 10 million. Okay, is that going to happen by you doing the same routine? No. So you have to delegate that to somebody else, but that's your why, because you have now the prize, you're looking at the mountain. What's the top of the mountain for you? So once you realize that there is more than just the comfort zone or where you are at, and I would just say on this one, some people, their comfort zone is all the chaos that is around them, and they're working 60 hours a week because that's what they know what to do, right? But if you want to get out of that, so then you have your goal. So that's number one. Use self-discipline in order to actually get to the next level, and trust the people. Hire people that you trust. Don't hire anybody that you don't trust. If you have trust issues, then work on that, but hire people that can help you and that you trust, and empower them. And then create very clear processes and procedures that you can actually pass to them so they can do it, and then train them to do it, and then validate them when they're doing a good job, compliment them. If they're not, if they made a mistake, then don't be harsh on them, but correct them and show them until they actually can do it. And that is a cycle. You have your why, you're training people, and then you work towards your next level. But I would also say, in terms of, I talked about the self-discipline, etc. One of the things that can help too is figure out, your time is super valuable. You only have that many hours in a day. What's the value of your time? So let's say you figure out that your value is $500 an hour. Not that anybody's paying you $500 an hour, but in that hour you can create business. You can, create your next podcast. You can sign your next best client, right? So you have the potential. Every hour has a potential of $500, $10,000 an hour, whatever that potential is. So next time you find yourself, let's say, doing cutting and pasting some documents so you can put it in a folder somewhere instead of delegating it to your administrative assistant or your VA, ask yourself, is this task worth $10,000 or 500 or 20, whatever your number is? If the answer is no, use discipline, self-discipline, to actually give it to somebody else.
I love this. And probably the best thing in my life that I did was to fire myself from operations. 3.5 years ago, I got 40 hours per week of my time. And I thought exactly like you say, I thought, oh, but am I still important now? Nobody misses me now? No applause? And then I realized, hey, there is still enough people who miss you, and there is still enough stuff to do. You will fill it with other 40 hours because your team needs you. Your team will always say, hey, I need this, I need that. Let's improve this, let's improve that. So you will always be around, and you will always be impactful. Just the leverage point changes, as you say, 5x, 10x. That's what's
Absolutely.
changing, right?
It's so true, and you have, did you ever notice that time is like a vacuum, especially for busy people, right? I mean, it's not like all of a sudden I have 40 hours and I'm sitting and doing nothing, right? All of a sudden, psh, all the 40 hours, like the calendar is full, but that's where you have to control it. And it has to be full with activities that you really want to do. So that's where it's really important to have the goal in mind of where you want to go, to have a strategy, right? To have a plan, because otherwise, and I know, Simon, that's what you help people do, is like to create those plans, to create those sprints, right? So they have a plan on what they're going to be doing. And because if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a plan, then those hours are going to get sucked into like doing things that you find yourself again, oh, how did I find myself here? This is not, you're just going in circles as opposed to progressing straight forward toward your goal.
What excites you looking forward? Where is your business in 3 years?
It's building the team, building my team. I'm adding people. I really want to make an impact on more businesses. So, be the go-to um, consultancy where people think about training manuals, when they think about playbooks, when they think about systematizing and processes and procedures, they go, yes, let's call Adi and her team. And that's what I'm looking at. So basically, the
And
same goals that I talked about, expansion and systematizing even more. Those are my goals.
and if they listen right now and say, hey, yeah, sounds cool. Actually, how can I have Adi and her team help me, would would they need to do the systems? How time intensive is it to work with you?
Well, it depends on what level of engagement they want. We can do a consultative approach where we consult the business and we create the design part in terms of like, okay, so you want your processes and procedures systematized where or documented. Where do you start? Okay, well, we'll map it for you. We'll give you the blueprint. We'll give you the basically the framework, and then you can go and it will give you instructions and you can go and fill it in, right? So that can be one approach. The other approach, I mean, that's one swing of the pendulum. The other part of the pendulum will be like done for you. So we're doing that. We are interviewing, we are writing, we are creating, and you have like a complete playbook at the end of such and such time, right? So usually it takes us 2 to 3 months per department or division, depends on the size of the company. And at the end, you have really well documented processes and procedures with in the voice of your company. So we always adjust it to your culture, to your voice, to who you are. And it's done for you and it's done. And we help you also implement it and make sure that it's being followed by all. And then we have the middle ground where it's basically we work with you on creating it. So we guide you, we create a blueprint, we create the framework, and then we guide you on what to video, what to write. We interview some people. Some of it we give you assignments where you and your team writes. When I say you, it means the team. We work with the entire team, not just with the owner, right? And we just progress along that program. I mean that process. So you again have well documented processes and procedures. So there is something that can fit any budget and any organization. I mean, when I say that, it's kind of like you have to have staff, you have to have production already going. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend even doing that professionally unless you have a business that is already successful, that is already like producing. So now the next step will be to document in order for you to hire more, in order for you to scale fast.
Oh, okay. That leads me to the next question. So, who should not call you? When makes it? When does it make sense to work with you, and how will they recognize that they are there?
Right. So, if you do not have customers, if you don't have clients, and if you don't have enough patients, whatever you are, whatever industry you're in, it's not documenting and systematizing now. You have to do marketing. You have to like market like crazy in order to get those customers and clients and patients and in the door, right? I mean, you have to have production, you have to produce. Once you get to, once you are productive, once you have people coming in your door, once you have your product defined, then you start hiring. And when you get to the point of, I need to hire, I have so much demand and so many people coming in that I need to now hire more fast, like tomorrow or today or yesterday, then you need to start systematizing because you need to create those manuals and procedures for your people so you can train them very fast. We work with some exceptions of startups that had capital to begin with and they wanted to start from the get-go. They wanted to start right. I'm not saying you can't document it from the get-go if you have the wherewithal to do that, for sure. But in a majority of businesses, you have to get going. You have to actually be producing. You have to actually be in business several years in order to actually get things going and get systems in place that you are creating. And now it's time to document it because you have enough demand for your products
If
or
people wanna,
services.
yeah, if people wanna find you, what are your favorite social media? Where do you hang out?
I hang out in LinkedIn mainly. So it's Adi Klevit, ADI and Klevit. And that's, I mean, I post, we post our podcast there, our blogs. We're also on Twitter and Facebook, but mainly on LinkedIn. That's where I'm going to see it first if you message me on LinkedIn.
And if people say, "Oh yeah, 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 let me systemize with Adi and her team," where can they book a call with you? How do they start?
Go to my website. It's bizsuccesscg.com. So biz is B-I-Z, the word success spelled out, and CG for consulting group.com, bizsuccesscg.com. And you can also email me at adi at bizsuccesscg.com.
And who should be my next guest?
I think you should interview Alice. I honestly think you should interview her. You're going to get a kick out of interviewing her. She has a fantastic story. she will love those questions that you are asking. So I'll make an introduction.
Super cool. Adi, is there anything I forgot to ask you?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot here. So no, is there anything you forgot to ask me?
Thank you so much. No, I don't think so. For being on the show, sharing your journey, your knowledge, your wisdom, your systems with us. Please come back soon. Adi, Klevit, everybody.
Thank you, Simon. Awesome to be your guest.
Avoid trying to do thousands of things that doesn't work. We have 274 templates for your business success. Reach your ambitious goals with one-on-one sprint coach. We double your revenue in 90 days.